Good evening. So I purchased the G-Shock G7900A yesterday, and I've been spending a few hours getting to understand it a bit more today. It's one of the beautiful things about being into these watches, for me personally, is that you can actually enlighten yourself greatly just by learning how to use it. And I don't just mean in terms of the technical nuances of the watch. I mean about really interesting topics relating to time, tides, moons, cycles of the Earth, and this is a perfect case in point. I've been pouring through the this rather thick booklet which goes through the various functionalities of the watch, because I'll be honest, this has got quite a few things that I've never come across before in a G-Shock I've owned previously. Very exciting for me. I absolutely love this. So today I've been learning about lunar tidal intervals, which basically are part of the one of the key variables which help this watch understand where it is and give you accurate tidal information. Essentially, the lunar tidal interval is the time interval between the transit of the moon over the locale or Greenwich meridian and the next local high tide or low water. That might not mean a lot to you. It wouldn't have meant a lot to me about an hour and a half ago, but I've been really getting down the rabbit hole with this watch and starting to really understand it. What's also interesting, which I hadn't really registered before, is the watch operates on understanding its longitude, i.e. where it is sitting east to west on the globe, which is, I guess, denoted by its UTC plus or minus number. So this might sound quite convoluted, but what I'm saying is, for someone who loves travel, who loves maps, who loves exploring oceans, boats, it's just excellent to be learning about this watch and therefore also learning about that topic in more detail. I'm not saying I've fully understood how this watch works yet, and it's going to take a bit of time and practice, but I can't wait to be able to confidently use it to understand when we've got a high tide coming. Obviously, you've got the moon phases on there as well, on this left-hand part of the screen. I'm someone who does use watercraft, skiffs, boats from time to time, and information like the tide, high tides, low tides, is really, really important. To have something like that on your wrist at all times is going to be very useful. There's also a few other observations I've made about this watch, which are interesting. When I first picked it up, I noted that the numbers, the main digits for the time, for example, are significantly bigger than I think all of the other G-Shocks I have. If I compare it to the Mudman, to me it looks like those numbers are not only bigger but spread out more. And I think what is driving that is who this watch has been designed for. It's the Rescue Red. It's clearly made for coast guards, lifeguards, people who operate on seas in cold conditions, and I think the numbers have to be big and well spaced, because trust me, when you're on a boat, particularly a small skiff type boat at high speed on a choppy sea, you vibrate a lot. Your wrist is bouncing around. You don't want small digits. You want to make sure you've got a good, clear readout. So that's one of the interesting observations I noted about the watch so far. Also, on the this slightly kind of rectangular stroke. I don't know what even shape that is. This shape on the right hand side. It's interesting because that's a kind of visible note of how a stopwatch is running, and it kind of fills in certain intervals solid as they are achieved. Now, again, that's something that is just a really good visual aid to someone who is maybe got quite a lot of information going around them. Maybe they're on a bumpy sea on a smaller boat. You don't want to be having to fiddle around looking for where your stopwatch is on a certain timing. You want to be able to look down and clearly see. So I think that's a fantastic bit of design there, as G-Shock always do. And there are numerous alarms on this. You can set 4, I believe. There are also a number of intriguing specialist, I guess, nuances to the watch in terms of how you can utilize those alarms, which I am not yet fully understanding. I've got to spend more time understanding it, but I know, for example, there's a flash alarm, a snooze alarm, and yeah, I can't wait to get into it. It looks fantastic on the wrist. I've worn it a few times over the past couple of days just to get used to it. I really, really like the feel of the resin. It's got a slightly matte feel to it all over the red. That works very well for me. So yeah, if I was going to summarize so far, I've owned this less than 48 hours. I'm really liking it. It's a watch which I've had my eye on for a long, long time. I just happened to be made a very good offer for it, so I picked it up along with the GGB 100 Mudmaster yesterday, and I'm very pleased I did. I want to, as I say, go down the rabbit hole a bit more on its functionality, and then I'll do a more in-depth review in the future. Have a good night, guys.